were all last together on August 2nd, 2023, where the defendant entered a guilty plea by way of information to a 2-count information as well as a firearm specification. First count on that being failure to comply with the signal or order of a police officer, felony of the 3rd degree. The firearm specification attached to that is a 1-year firearm specification. And the second count being receiving stolen property, felony of the 4th degree. Your Honor, again, we are set today for a sentencing. There is a joint recommendation before you, at least I believe there had been a joint recommendation before you, for a total time of a 3-year prison sentence. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Mr. Kilmeyer.
Thank you, Your Honor. That is our understanding of the procedure to this point. We are prepared to proceed to sentencing today.
Go ahead.
Thank you. There is a joint recommendation in this case for 3 years. We would ask the court to adopt that joint recommendation. At the time of this offense, Devin was 19 years old. That was the first time I met him. He was 19 years old. He is extremely young, but unfortunately in his adult life, he has not been making very good use of his time, and that is fully understood, and the consequences of that are fully taken into consideration here today. That's why we think that he was being homeschooled. He was also living with his mother, who's very actively engaged in his life. His mother is somebody that both he and I spoke to during the pendency of this case. She really wanted to make sure that he was both taking responsibility for what was going on, as well as being treated fairly. He's very close with his mother. She's somebody who cares a lot about him, and she's seen him go through a lot of difficult things growing up. He, at a very young age, unfortunately, as we discussed in chambers and as is really the elephant in the room, was charged with this exact same thing in Cuyahoga County. At the time of this offense, he was on probation in Cuyahoga County for these exact same offenses. And that's a problem, and that's a problem that Devin fully recognizes. And as I talked about in chambers, the entirety of our plea negotiations in this case, while there was some discussion about what the charges ultimately were going to be, revolved around how much time was going to be served. That was the first thing that Devin talked to me about. He wanted to agree to prison from the get-go. He didn't want to come in and make a dead-in-the-water kind of half-hearted argument for him to be on community control again, because he knew that that ship had sailed. He knew he had messed up. He had messed up grandly, and that this was his opportunity to take full responsibility and do so not only by pleading, and pleading by information, and taking responsibility very early while sitting and waiting for his hearings in the Lake County Jail, but also agreeing to a substantial amount of prison time. And we do think that it is substantial. Your Honor, Devin has a lot that he wants to talk to you about. I discussed with him prior to Your Honor coming out onto the record that there's a lot of information about this case that he needs to be very upfront and honest about, and he has told me that he is absolutely ready to do that. He will tell the court whatever information the court does want to hear. Again, Your Honor, we think that 3 years is appropriate in light of Devin's age, in light of his criminal history. Prior to this happening, he was working as a seasonal worker in a factory, so he was trying to get things together in some ways. He also has a baby on the way with his ex-girlfriend. He was trying to rekindle his relationship with her. He wanted to move out of where he was living in Maple Heights. He wanted to actually move down to Columbus. So he had a lot of plans for himself that are now obviously greatly put on hold. But while he's in prison, he does want to improve himself. He's talked to me about how he wants to get his GED while he's in there, since he did drop out of school in the 11th grade, and how he wants to really just make good use of the time and take classes. There's a lot of programming that's available to people who are staying in the prisons, and that's something that he wants to fully avail himself to. So, Your Honor, again, we are asking the court to adopt the joint recommendation of 3 years in this case. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Austin, what do you want to tell me before I impose sentence?
First, I want to start off by saying I take full accountability for my wrongs, and I apologize to everyone I put in danger because of my actions. And also, I want to say I didn't hit the officer, but I'll take the blame for it because it was none of this would have happened.
Then what happened?
I was driving on the curb, like on the opposite side of the street. I got on the curb because cars was coming. 2 cars passed, and the officer crashed.
So you went over, you were going east, right? You went over to pass a car.
Yeah, that was
Then you ended up in the bike lane, kind of off the road.
Correct.
Then you kind of in the tree lawn area, and you were about to hit a telephone pole, and you went back into the lane of travel, going the wrong direction, right?
No, I stayed on the driving the curb the whole time.
Okay.
I never got back in the street. Like 2 cars passed, and the officer turned his wheel and crashed me. But I'll take the blame for it because none of this would have occurred if I would have just pulled over. Also, I want to say, during my time being here, I learned a lot about honesty, accountability, and discipline. And the day after I got incarcerated, I found out I had a child on the way, and that just changed my whole perspective on life. Because my father was locked up while my mom was pregnant with me. He got out when I was 7, and passed a few years later. So I know how much a child needs a good father figure, a good role model in his life. Yeah, that's it.
Who's Amari Wren?
That's who's in the Courtroom.
All right, who is she to you?
Girlfriend.
Where were you going?
I was going to pick up some friends.
Who?
My friend, his name 360.
What's his name?
360.
360 is a number. What's his name?
I don't know his real name. That's
If he's your friend, how come you don't know his name?
I don't know his real name. I just know him off Instagram.
Okay. What were you picking him up for?
Just to take him back to my spot,
Where?
Maple Heights.
Okay. Where'd the car come from?
I got it from a friend.
Who?
I'd rather not say.
Okay. I see. This is what I was talking about. Okay. I got you going to pick up 360 in a stolen car that was used in another crime, and you run from Willowick. Why did you run from Willowick?
Just because, I don't know, like, I'm scared of police, so I don't know what happened if I get pulled over, so I just rather,
What do you mean?
like,
What do you mean you don't know what's going to happen if you get pulled over?
because I've seen a lot of bad stuff happen by police
Where?
officers,
Where?
like the stuff that happened in Akron.
Okay. What happened in Akron?
Some black kids got pulled over, and the officer shot them.
And what happened before the shot was fired?
Nothing.
Huh?
Nothing.
Nothing?
They said they was reaching, but they wasn't.
Okay. What else?
That's the reason why.
Okay, so how fast do you have to go before the police stop chasing you?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure? Well, my guess is you are sure, because they stopped chasing you, right? Willowick stopped chasing. Did you know they stopped chasing you?
Yes.
Okay, how did you know that?
I seen them turn off the lights.
So, you figured you were good to go then, right?
Nah.
What happened in your conviction from last fall in Cuyahoga County? How did that occur?
I was pulling up to my house. I just had left McDonald's.
What happened?
I was on the street going to my house, and I got pulled over right there.
And you pulled over and you stopped?
Yeah.
Why did they charge you with failure to comply then?
Because after I stopped and they got out, then I fled.
You fled in the car?
Yes.
Why?
Same reason.
Right. What department was that? Maple Heights?
Yes.
And did you get caught right away?
Yes.
And you got suspended, a license suspension for 3 years as a result of that, right?
Yes.
Okay. But that didn't seem to matter, right?
Yes.
Why? How did it matter?
I mean, it did.
Didn't matter. Why not?
I just didn't take it into consideration.
Huh?
I didn't take it into consideration.
You didn't take what into consideration?
My license being suspended.
Well, why not?
I don't know.
Okay. So, see all these questions I had, and I told Mr. Kilmeyer this, and Mr. Foisel this, and Ms. Randallson this before I came in. I said, this isn't just a simple the lights go on and you run. This is the lights go on, you run, they stop chasing, another department picks it up, and you cause an accident that injured the officer. In a stolen car with a loaded firearm, which you're not permitted to have, right?
Yes.
With a loaded firearm, with the safety off, with the round in the chamber, in a car that was stolen that was used in other crimes. None of which I have an answer to.
But I thought it was proof that I didn't have nothing to do with them crimes. Because my phone...
How do you know? What crimes were they? How do you know there were any crimes?
The detective in Eastlake told me about the crimes. He asked me about everything, and he pinged my phone, everything to find out if I was there. I know nothing about them.
Okay. Well, you know that the car was stolen, right?
Yeah, I knew that.
Okay. And you got it from somebody who knew it was stolen,
Correct.
right? And when I asked you who, you don't want to tell me. So you write a letter to me, right?
Yes.
And you tell me that since you've been in jail, you realize the importance of discipline and you're relying on God to solve your problems or to turn your problems over to. And when I ask you a question that would give me some indication that any of that's true, you won't tell me.
I'd rather not put anybody else
I know
in trouble.
that. You'd rather not put anybody what?
I'd rather not put anybody else in trouble.
In trouble. Okay. Well, I don't really care. But, I mean, I don't care. See, people are in that seat all day, every day, and they tell me exactly what they think I want to hear in order to get what they want to get. So you're not unusual in that regard, okay? But what is unusual is you're 19, this is the second one you got, you're driving on a suspended license from that incident, you know what the drill is with regard to these chases, you know how to get away when these chases ensue, you're not very good at it because now you're 0 for 2, okay? And you got all these other complicating factors that you don't want to talk about. That tells me that that letter that you sent me is nonsense. You don't mean any of it, okay, because you won't come clean. That's what it tells me. You won't tell me who you were going to pick up other than 360, because that's his name on Instagram. You know what his name is. You know what you were doing. You were just going to go pick him up. You were going to drive. How long does it take to get from Maple Heights to wherever the ping was? Where was the ping?
Willowick. Somewhere in Willowick.
Okay. So how long does it take to get from Maple Heights to Willowick?
Like 35 minutes, something like
35.
that.
You're going to drive 70 minutes round trip to take 360 to your house for what?
Just to kick it.
Just to kick. And then you were going to take him home, 70-minute round trip after you kicked, or what?
No, he was going to stay there.
Okay. So I don't know who 360 is. I don't know whose car it was. I don't know where the car was stolen from. I don't know what crimes the car was used in. Okay? And I don't know who Amari Wren is and what her role in all this was.
She didn't play a part in that at all. She was just in the car.
Well, she's in a stolen car with a loaded firearm being transported improperly by a felon. So she knows a lot more than what you want to tell me. So I got a whole lot of people that know a whole lot of stuff about a whole lot of things that I'm never getting the answers to, right? Isn't that right?
Yes.
Right. Because and the reason I'm not getting the answers is because you don't want your running buddies getting into trouble, right?
Yes.
Right. Okay. When, how did you get caught?
I heard my girlfriend screaming my name while I was running on feet behind the houses. And then an officer was back there with me. He told me to stop. Then I came in front. That's when I heard her scream my name. I saw her getting arrested, so I just put my hands up and got on my knee.
Well, how long were you running before you stopped running?
I don't know, about like 60 seconds, probably 90.
And then what happened? When you stopped running, what happened?
I just surrendered.
How did you surrender?
I put my hands up.
Okay. And then how many police officers were there?
Like 3, 4.
Okay, and what did they do?
Tackled me and cuffed me.
And then what did they do?
Put me in the car.
And then what did they do?
Took me to East Lake.
Was that what you expected they were gonna do, all those things?
Yes.
What, I thought you expected that something bad was gonna happen,
I mean, I did.
okay? And did something bad happen from those officers?
No.
So maybe what you told me about what happened in Akron didn't happen that way. Is that possible?
No.
No? It's not possible?
No.
Okay. How do you know what happened in Akron?
Because I seen
Seen it where, on Instagram?
it. Yes.
Yes? It's on Instagram. If it's on Instagram, then it must be, true, right?
Right.
What else you want to tell me?
That's all I got to say.
Mr. Kilmeyer, anything else?
I have nothing further, Your Honor. Thank
All
you.
right. Mr. Feusel?
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, we're here today, and I should point out, just for the record's purposes, that in addition, seated in the back of the courtroom today is the officer that was involved directly in the collision, Jacob Reich. Mr. Reich had to undergo surgery on his shoulder, had a torn labrum as a result of the collision from this incident. I can speak from personal experience that 20 years later, I'm still feeling the repercussions from a shoulder surgery similar to that. This is something that's going to live with him for a long time. He also has some back injuries as well that still have yet to be treated. But in addition to Mr. Reich, Chief Larry Reich is present, along with, and I'm going to count through, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 additional officers seated in the back of the courtroom today. The officers involved in this case from the city of Eastlake are here to support Jacob today. They're here to support the work that was done to try and apprehend Devin in this case. Your Honor, the state's not naive to think that this isn't a young man sitting next to us here today. He is only 19 years. He was only 19 at the time of the offense. But he did the exact same offense within a year prior to this incident, and this time he does it with a loaded firearm in the vehicle. Your Honor, that's the reason we're asking for consecutive time on this case for all 3 counts to be ran consecutively, in addition to them having to be with that failure to comply count. That has to be ran consecutive to the firearm specification. But the receiving stolen property as well. So we did feel that, given the circumstances,
The RSP has to be consecutive to the failure to...
if a prison sentence is given on the RSP, it would also have to be consecutive as well. Correct, Judge? Thank you. And we do feel that a 3-year sentence is appropriate in this case, and would ask you to adopt that sentence here today. I have asked if the officers wish to speak. They do not. I do believe impact statements have been provided.
I don't have a victim impact statement. I did not receive one.
Find out. He did submit one, Judge, and I thought he did. That's why
I didn't show up.
to you now, Judge.
Didn't show up on my... Well, the only thing that, this is not so much of a, just so you know, Mr. Austin, this is not so much as of a classic victim impact statement, although it indicates the difficulties he's had and the concerns he had with the incident itself. It also gives some advice to you about the direction of your life, which of course you can take it or leave it. But he ends by saying, "There are no hard feelings from me. I wish you the best of luck, Devin, and may God bless you." Just so you know that. That's from the guy you hit. And you hit him. He didn't hit you, you hit him. All right. Anything else, Mr. Feusel?
Briefly, Your Honor, this is the exact type of crime of F3 failure to comply, the reasons that we have consecutive sentences on those. The fear that someone would be hurt, and in this case, someone actually was hurt. Someone was injured as a result of the pursuits in this case. And that is why, Your Honor, we would ask that you adopt that joint recommendation today.
All right, I reviewed the pre-sentence report and the letter from Mr. Austin, the victim impact statement from Patrolman Reich. I've listened to counsel, I've listened to Mr. Austin. I've considered all provisions in 29-29-11, 29-29-12, 29-29-13, and 29-29-14. And just as a note with regard to 29-29-14, as Mr. Feusel has discussed, there's a one-year firearm specification that by law is consecutive to the other sentences, or specifically the failure to comply. And since it's mandatory, the receiving stolen property must be consecutive to failure to comply sentence. There is a joint recommendation at 3 years. Now, there's a lot of failure to complies that come through here. Way too many failure to complies that come through here. And the reason there's a lot of failure to complies is every agency, to my knowledge, with the exception of the Highway Patrol, won't chase when certain conditions exist. And those conditions primarily are the safety to other people on the road, not to mention the officers and the person they're chasing. But there's a grave danger to people on the road. That's why, in that Cuyahoga case, you got a 3-year to life license suspension, or that was the potential, you got a 3-year suspension. That's why, in this case, since it's a subsequent offense, there's a mandatory lifetime suspension. Not that matters, okay, because you're driving anyway, okay, but that's the reason, okay. So when you reach a certain threshold of miles per hour on a freeway, they're going to stop chasing you. When you're running in and out of neighborhoods where there's a dense population, they're not going to chase very far, okay, because of the danger. It outweighs the benefit of catching you, and you know that, okay? You know that. And almost everybody who comes in here on these charges knows that. You know how I know that? Because I ask them and they tell me, okay? So this is the little game that's being played. Okay? But there's more than there's more to this than is typical in these cases. And what the more is, okay, is you're coming from Maple to pick up 360 somewhere where there's a ping. You don't know his name. He's a friend of yours. 360 is your friend and you're going to pick him up, but you don't know his name. Or you do and you won't tell me. You've been driving a stolen car for 2 days that you know is stolen, that you know who stole it apparently, and that you know has been used in other crimes. And you don't want to give up that information because you don't want to get anybody else in trouble. And all of that belies the fact that you told me that since you've been over here, you found discipline, you found God, you're going to put your troubles in His hands, and you want to get your GED, and you want to do all this stuff. And you don't want your child to grow up like you did because your father was in prison till you were 7, okay? See, I don't believe any of that, okay? Because you're more willing to protect your buddies, whoever they may be, than you are in advancing yourself. With regard to count 1, the firearm specification sentence is 1 year, and that sentence will be consecutive to your sentence on count 1, which is going to be 24 months in prison. Firearm specification and the sentence in count 1 are by law consecutive to one another. The sentence on count 2 is 18 months in prison, and by law that's consecutive to count 1 failure to comply. So that's what the sentence is. The costs are imposed. You're given credit for 111 days that you've already served. And I'm going to give the reasons anyway for the benefit of the Court of Appeals, but consecutive sentences are necessary to protect the public from future crime by you and to properly punish you, and they're not disproportionate to the seriousness of your offense, particularly since you committed the same thing last fall in Cuyahoga County. So you were on probation in Cuyahoga County when you committed this offense. You were driving under a 3-year license suspension when you committed this offense. So your short history of criminal conduct indicates that this sentence is necessary to protect the public from future crime by you. Your license is suspended for life. When you get out, you might be on post-release control for up to 2 years under the parole authority. They will place conditions on you. If you violate the conditions, the parole authority could return you to prison for up to 9 months for each violation, up to 1/2 of my sentence. If that violation is a new felony, you could get an additional consecutive prison sentence for that violation, the maximum of which would be the greater of 12 months or the time you have left under your post-release control. Is there anything further, Mr. Foisel?
Nothing further from the state, Your Honor.
Mr. Kilmeyer?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
All right, we're adjourned.